The life of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is the saga of a great leader, turning people power into an armed struggle that liberated a nation and created the world's eighth most populous state. The birth of the sovereign state of Bangladesh in December 1971, after a heroic war of 9 months against Pakistani colonial rule, was the triumph of his faith in the destiny of his people. Sheikh Mujib, endearingly called Bangabandhu or Friend of Bengal, rose from the people, molded their hopes and aspirations into a dream, and staked his life in the long battle for making it real. He was a true democrat, and he employed, in his struggle for securing justice and fair play for the Bengalis, only democratic and constitutional weapons until the last moment. It's no accident of the history that in an age of military revolt and strong men, Sheikh Mujib attained power through elections and mass movements, and that in an age of decline of democracy, he firmly established democracy in one of the least developed countries in Asia. In this episode of the GK Guy, you are going to see the biography of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So you are welcome to a new episode of the GK Guy. Sheikh Mujib was born on 17 March 1920 in a middle-class family at Tungipara in the Gopalganj district. Standing 5 feet 11 inches, he was taller than the average Bengali. Nothing pleased him more than being close to the masses, knowing their joys and sorrows, and being part of their travels and triumphs. He spoke their soft language, but in articulating their sentiments, his voice was powerful and resonant. He had not been educated abroad, nor did he learn the art of hiding feelings behind sophistry. Yet he was loved as much by the urban educated as to the common masses of villages. He inspired the intelligentsia and the working class alike. He did not, however, climb to leadership overnight. His political life began as a humble party worker. While he was still a student, he was fortunate to come in early contact with such towering personalities as Hossein Shahid Sarwardi and A.K. Fazlul Haq, both charmistic chief ministers of undivided Bengal. Adolescent Mujib grew up under the gathering of gloom of stormy politics, as the aging British Raj in India was falling apart, and the Second World War was violently rocking the continents. He witnessed the ravages of the war and the stark reality of the Great Famine of 1943, in which about 5 million people lost their lives. The tragic plight of the people under colonial rule turned young Mujib into a rebel. This was also the time when he saw the legendary revolutionary Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose challenging the British Raj. Also about this time, he came to know the works of Bernard Shaw, Karl Marx, Rabindranath Tagore, and rebel poet Kazi Nazrul Islam. Soon after the partition of India in 1947, it was felt that the creation of Pakistan with its two wings separated by a physical distance of about 1,200 miles was a geographical monstrosity. The economic, political, cultural, and linguistic characters of the two wings are also different. Keeping the two wings together under the forced bonds of a single state structure in the name of religious nationalism would merely result in a rigid political control and economic exploitation of the eastern wing by the all-powerful western wing, which controlled the country's capital and its economic and military might. In 1948, a movement was initiated to make Bengali one of the state languages of Pakistan. This can be termed the first stirrings of the movement for an independent Bangladesh. The demand for cultural freedom gradually led to the demand for national independence. During that language movement, Sheikh Mujib was arrested and sent to jail. During the blood-drenched language movement in 1952, he was again arrested, and this time he provided inspiring leadership of the movement from inside the jail. In 1954, Sheikh Mujib was elected a member of the then East Pakistan Assembly. He joined A.K. Fazlul Huq's United Front government as the youngest minister. The ruling clique of Pakistan soon dissolved this government, and Sheikh Mujib was once again thrown into prison. In 1955, he was elected a member of the Pakistan Constituent Assembly and was again made a minister when the Awami League formed the provincial government in 1956. Soon after, General Ayub Khan staged a military coup in Pakistan in 1958. Sheikh Mujib was arrested once again, and a number of cases were instituted against him. He was released after 14 months in prison, but was rearrested in February 1962. In fact, he spent the best part of his youth behind prison bars. The day of 7 March 1971 was one of the supreme tests in his life. Nearly 2 million freedom-loving people assembled at the Ramna Racecourse Maidan, later renamed Sehrawardi Uddan. On that day, to hear their leader's command for the battle for liberation, the Pakistani military junta was also waiting to trap him and to shoot down the people on the plea of suppressing a revolt against the state. Sheikh Mujib spoke in a thundering voice, but in a masterly, well-calculated, restrained language. His historic declaration in the meeting was, "Our struggle this time is for freedom. Our struggle this time is for independence." To deny the Pakistani military an excuse for a crackdown, he took care to put forward proposals for a solution to the crisis in a constitutional way, and kept the door open for negotiations. The crackdown, however, came on the night of 25th March 1971. He declared the independence of Bangladesh in the early hours of 26th March 1971. The junta arrested Sheikh Mujib for the last time and whisked him away to West Pakistan for confinement for the entire duration of the liberation war. In the name of suppressing a rebellion, the Pakistani military let loose hell on the unarmed civilians throughout Bangladesh and perpetrated a genocide, killing not more than 3 million people and destroying property worth billions of taka. Before their ignominious defeat and surrender, they, with the help of their social collaborators, killed a large number of intellectuals, university professors, writers, doctors, journalists, engineers, and eminent persons of other professions. In pursuing a scorched earth policy, they virtually destroyed the whole of the country's infrastructure. But they could not destroy the indomitable spirit of the freedom fighters, nor could they silence the thundering voice of the leader. Tape recordings of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's 7th March speech kept on inspiring his followers throughout the war. Forced by international pressure and the imperatives of its own domestic predicament, Pakistan was obliged to release Sheikh Mujib from its jail. Soon after the liberation of Bangladesh, and on 10th January 1972, the great leader returned to his beloved land and his admiring nation. But as he saw the plight of the country, his heart bled, and he knew that there would be no moment of rest for him. Almost the entire nation, including about 10 million people returning from their refuge in India, had to be rehabilitated. The shattered economy needed to be put back on track. The infrastructure had to be rebuilt. Millions had to be saved from starvation, and law and order had to be restored. Simultaneously, a new constitution had to be framed, a new parliament had to be elected, and democratic institutions had to be put in place. Any ordinary mortal would break down under the pressure of such formidable tasks that needed to be addressed on a top priority basis. Although simple at heart, Sheikh Mujib was a man of cool nerves and of great strength of mind. Under his charmistic leadership, the country soon began moving on the road to progress, and the people found their long-cherished hopes and aspirations being gradually realized. But at this critical juncture, his life was cut short by a group of anti-liberation reactionary forces who, in a pre-dawn move on 15th August 1975, not only assassinated him, but 23 of his family members and close associates. So, how was today's video? If it's good, I can expect a like from you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We'll see you in the new episode of the GK Guy. Goodbye.